So welcome back. Do we have the slides for the action plans?
Yeah, uploading.
So it seems like, 90 minutes is a long time in the session, but it's really not, considering that we have, I'm not sure, somewhere between 12 and 20 action plans to go through. So we have some ground rules to help us get through it. Instead of going in detail through everything in your action plan that you submitted to us, we're going to try to cap your presentation length to 2.5 minutes. So you're entering an elevator with your key decision maker, and you have about 2.5 minutes or 19 floors on the elevator to pitch your proposal. Focus on 3 points. 1, clear and brief problem statement. For example, a situational example of how this problem manifests. 2nd, what your action plan proposal will do and how, and what you need to move forward with your action plan. Throw any additional details you can give us on your action plan in the 2.5 minutes, and then we will take time then to give you feedback and ask you questions, and we want the chat active as well between the trainers and participants. We have a stopwatch on the slide. We may even be using that to help you keep track of your time. We are going to go just in order, alphabetical order of country, which would put someone from Angola first. Craig, would you like to kind of take over here? And I don't know, is there anyone from Angola present to do their action plan? It'd be also great if you turn on your camera.
We need to hear from someone.
That would be Andre or Fernandez. Oh, sorry. I've got the names back. Nathaniel. First name.
Nathaniel is not in the meeting. I'm just looking at the list. Who else is there from Angola?
Alvaro, Andre Alvaro.
I don't see them on the list of participants currently in this meeting.
Okay. Next would be
them.
Okay. So Marie from Congo, are you available to share your action plan?
Jeff, if I may propose just to open the list of participants currently in this meeting, and go from top down.
Okay. Well, Abdesattar, you are the winner. Would you be willing to be our first presenter?
I am Abdesattar Bouguizane from Tunisia. I will present my action plan, starting by the statement of the problem. In most of insurance company, the budget planning is informal and not linked to risk management process. Objective: put in place formalized budget planning procedures. These procedures help to plan a budget in efficient and relevant manner. And The second objective is to connect risk management and budget planning. It is the ultimate goal when integrating risk management into the budget planning is to understand the assumption about the budget is based on action plan. Start by if necessary, invest in new information system to track income and expense and automatically create the profit and loss statement. It start the 1st September and complete the 13. The case stakeholder is the purchasing department and accounting and finance department. After that, we found, if necessary, hire a person to help manage the budget planning. It starts the 1st October and finish the 30th of the same month. The case stakeholder is HR department. The third one is put procedures in place for budgeting. It's about to break the process of how to create a business budget down into smaller steps. We can devise this point in 5 sub-point, starting with identify the major line items in the company budget and the personnel who contribute to them. Make the link between the budget planning and the company strategic objectives. It's start the 1st October and finish the 30 October. Stakeholder is all concerned party in this budget, like sales department, HR department, investment and IT department. And 3.2 consult all the departments within the company should be part of the conversation and provide feedback, insights, and expectation for the following fiscal years. It commences the 1st October and finishes the 30 November. The main stakeholders, the sales team, the manufacturing or service team, any other department who can add value to the conversation. The 3.3 is estimated revenue. It's about expected sales have a significant influence in cost, including employee headcount, but it can be very challenging to make projection accurately. It's start the 1st October and finish the 13th November. The concerned party is sales department. Communicate with the current customer to better understand the expected needs of the product or services. The 3.4 is determine expense. Here are some considerations. Some costs related directly to revenue, other costs not related to revenue. It's start the 1st October and finish the 30 November. The concerned party is the Human Resource Department, Processing Department, and Training Department. 3.5 identify capital expenditure. This may include new computer system, machinery, vehicle, furniture, and other equipment. It starts the 1st October and finish the 30 November. The concerned party is investment department, project management department, building department, and IT department. And the 3.6 is calculate cash flow. While putting together projected income statement can feel great. It's just as important to calculate the expected cash flow of the business. It starts the 1st December and finish the 3 December. the concerned parties, financing department, accounting department, and budgeting department. The fourth point is about mitigate the risk in the project. It's for the line item that has a high risk score. It needs more attention and resources. If necessary, we may draft contingency plans in place for advance of a risk event occurring. The timing of this point is the moment of change. The 5 point is continuously monitors risk and efficacy of control. After we have taken step 1 through 4, don't stop here. We should make a budget living document constantly affected by change within the company and the fluctuation in the market. This work is an ongoing process, and the concerned party is the Management Control Department of Internal Auditing. It is all about my presentation, and I want to thank all the program leader and all the participants. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing your action plan. I'm the first person to comment, but as I say, we encourage others, particularly in the interest of time, to make comments and suggestions and feedback in the chat for you. I would say, I mean, you have a real advantage with this action plan where it's got a sort of pretty solid internal focus on who the stakeholders are, which means that most things are going to be under control of the organisation to be able to make this happen. So I think that's really good. My only suggestion is that it is difficult to make a really sort of short, brief presentation about this, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why we suggested people think about doing that, because one thing that's going to be in the mind of your boss is how much is this going to cost. You've done a good job in saying how long it's going to take, but that cost area is something that's kind of going to be developed as you go through it. You're really not sure at this stage, but you may be able to say something about how much it's going to cost aside from the possible IT cost, and that might actually help to get your boss to make the decision. And the other thing I just suggest generally for people also in the statement of your objectives, it's pretty clear about what you want to do and what it will look like when you're finished. Sometimes it's useful for people in those objectives to say, you know, by when is it going to be done? I mean, overall, your detailed action plan has got timetable in it, but you could just incorporate that into the objective as well. That would be give some focus to the decision maker that, you know, this is a project that's not going to be going on forever and ever and ever. Okay, well done. And thank you for being first.
Thank you. It's a great start. Andy, you're next on the list of participants. Let's see, so this is Mauritius. So Andy or anyone else from Mauritius, you could present your action plan, and we could pull up the slide again, Yanina, and then
Yeah, I am.
the goal would be to let's hear your 2.5 minute elevator pitch.
Yeah, so please, when presenting, please focus only on these 3 points, because we don't have there too many of you. We will not have time to cover everyone else if we go through everyone's plan in detail. So Anderson, are you with us? Can you share your plan, please?
Yeah, it could be Andy or anyone from Mauritius if you're doing your plan together.
Sorry, I'm not very tech savvy, and this is proving to be a little bit of a challenge.
Can you share you are from Mauritius, right? Is this the same team?
Sorry, we're just having a bit of an issue because I can't hear you.
Okay, how about now?
Maybe does anyone else want to go in the meantime, just so we don't waste everybody's time while we...
On to Abdul is next on the list. Yeah, I think Abdul, I don't know who from the Ghana team will present, but please upload your action plan.
All right. I don't know if you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can. And if we can just send a chat message to Yanish to mute her mic, that will be before they start in Ghana. Okay, fantastic. Go ahead.
All right. So this action plan was developed by Abdul, Harun, Clinton, and Chiami, the 4 participants from Ghana. The statement of problem is actually centered on the lack of understanding on basic actuarial concepts and how RMs could actually expound on the actuarial valuation report and financial condition report, which are submitted by the actuaries of the respective insurers. So our basic objective is we want to actually leverage on the skills that we've acquired during this training. That's quite synonymous with the team for this whole training, leveraging actuarial skills. So we are also leveraging on the skills and expertise acquired during this training. And our basic plan is to organize a series of training for the staff to make sure this is realistic. We are going to spread this throughout the whole year, but we are going to actually spend the first 3 months in developing an outline for this training. And this will be mainly focused on the key models that we understudied: the risk management and insurer distress, valuation and actuarial report, the risk-based capital and reinsurance, and supervisory frameworks and KPIs. The reason being that these are things which are that peculiar to our insurance industry. We already in Ghana, there have been 2 defunct life insurers in the past couple of years, just about 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a number of non-life insurers who are already under enforcement action. And we feel if the relationship managers who conduct regular on-site inspection have insight into this basic actuarial concepts, we can have the warning indicators as early as possible, and we can put in measures to actually control these issues before they become escalated and have a larger impact on policyholders. So upon approval of our outline, which will be developed within the next 3 months, starting from October, because some of us are out of office at the moment, we wish to inculcate this to the larger supervision department work plan for next year, based on the approval of the head of the department. And then afterwards, we actually delve into what we are going to teach or what we are going to train the general staff on. The specific targets will be the relationship managers who have a direct dealing with the various insurance or regulated entities, but we will actually have people from other departments involved, because there have been times that there have been reshuffle and transfer of staff within departments or branches here and there. And some may move from other departments and be tasked to do the works of RM. So we feel targeting the general, working staff is a way to go, but the main focus is the RMs. And we actually have 2 professional actuaries in our organization, in the National Insurance Commission of Ghana at the moment. We have Seti Shen, who is a member and a fellow of the IFOA, and I think we have Alberto Kodagadu, the head of actuarial unit, is also a fellow or an associate of the IFOA. So we will leverage on their skills and knowledge and experience over the period, coupled with the training or dovetail with the training that we've acquired. And each of the 4 participants is going to take up one model. Since we had 4 broad models, each participant will take one broad model and expatiate on that to the target audience. And finally, we also make a case that the HR should have a sort of plan in place to have at least once a year a regular training on basic actuarial concepts and how we can leverage on the various reports and data that we get to spot this warning signs. I hope I'm in time. And this is a picture of us deliberating on our action plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Clinton. This was great. You were on time. Just a couple of comments. So this is capacity building. It is 1-year program, but I see towards the end. I was going to ask, how are you going to ensure sustainability? Because this is what capacity building should be about, that these types of things repeat or at least stay somewhere within the institution. Should you leave, should Abdul leave, or the rest of your colleagues for another better position somewhere else? So this is something to think about. How do you make sure that there's a database of knowledge? Can we just mute people who accidentally turned their mics on, please? And so that is one thing, ensuring sustainability. When it comes to the problem statement, going back to the top of everything, I feel like you could ask a few more times, so what? So whatever statement in the problem statement you make, then you ask, so what? So what happens as a consequence of that? Because this is where you get to the problem, when you can't ask this so what anymore. So maybe that is something to consider in refining the plan. Have you considered human resources? I mean, the team of you who will be delivering these trainings, you still have your jobs to do. So how is this going to be compensated? How is your time? How will you find the time to prepare this, to deliver this, to plan this? So the question of resources should be present at every step of the action step, the planning steps. The resources could be of financial nature, human resources, or even material, what you will need to make that happen. 3 months prep, feasible, I would say, to develop a curriculum based on what you've had so far. You have expertise in the team. 1 year for the implementation of the program. Just an idea, you could throw in several shorter sessions in between. Refreshers of some sort. And at some point you say upon approval of the training, but I don't remember that I've seen any steps that have led to the approval of the training. Like you have submitted something to someone, waited for someone to respond. So maybe it's it's because I haven't seen it, but if it's not there, this is something that you should really consider. Just refine, comb through the action steps. The smallest action for something to happen needs to be integrated in the action steps. And yeah, I think yeah. So my main point would be to focus in on the problem statement and to refine it as much as possible. So that is all from me. Very well done, Ghana team.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the chat is open for any other comments to the Ghana group. Very good, Clinton. Thank you. If I'm looking at the participant list right, the next person I see is Blessing. So that'd be the team from.
Okay, just to chip in this, as part of the program or our plan, we intend to put this into writings in the form of manuals, systematic approach, so that the manuals will be a living document. I'm saying this because of the question Dunia asked about sustainability and lots of stuff. So
yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That's an important point, and it was important to be clarified. However, I don't want to sound rude, but someone needs to say it. We will run out of time. So
that's fine. Okay.
Unless you're the presenter, please comment in the chat, because we need to move on. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question, Blessing, Darren, I don't know who presents. If I raise my hand, do you see that while you share the screen, Blessing?
No, I can't see that.
You can't see that.
LinkedIn I wanted to screen, isn't it? Oh no, it's
Blessing. I wanted to give you a 30-second notice before the 2.5 minutes are over. But I think if you are sharing the screen, you don't see the chat or the other participants.
I'll just put a timer on my end.
That is a perfect idea. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I think you can go ahead.
I can start now?
Sure.
Okay. So this is from Blessing and Darren. We are regulators in Namibia, and we work in the actuarial division of the regulator. So for us, being able to be the support function for the regulator in terms of interpreting all actuarial issues and also giving input into the actuarial issues of the regulator is key to us. So from what we have noted up until now is that when it comes to actuarial report or any actuarial input that comes from the industry to the regulator, there is a lot of illiteracy that goes on within the department. Most of the recipients of the information that has to do with actuarial, they are not quite aware of what the reports are saying or what it means and what needs to be done immediately after they receive the reports and the information that is in there, to be able to decode it and turn it into action items that they need to do or into risk classifications that they need to do for the regulated entities. It's not quite clear at that point. So it then ends up being a lot of work for the actuarial team, because each and every small aspect that comes through from the regulated entities into the regulator, they need to then pass through the actuarial team for them to be able to give context to each and every item. So for us, we noticed that it's a problem area and would want to deal with it. So our objective is mainly to help the department in interpreting these actuarial reports. So the first step that we would want to do is to make sure that the information that we have gathered from this training, we pass it on to the team, and also be able to apply it as an actuarial team, and then be able to address the issues that are coming in from the areas that we have identified as lacking from the other team members, be able to list them, identify them, and code them. Then we train the teams as they should be. So each and every team that have interaction with the actuarial teams, they'll be able to be trained and into the evaluation of these reports. And in the long term, we'd also want them to create a culture of general learning and being able to general learning and being able to interpret these actuarial reports. Basically, this is what we would want to achieve for the teams. Thank you.
Thank you. So Elias, would you like to provide any feedback here?
Thanks. So having looked at this, it seemed pretty straightforward in terms of really providing that basic knowledge to the other supervisors that are within Namibia, NAMFISA. I see that they would want to kind of replicate this training to the other members. I don't know whether he will look at basically creating what we call a TOT first, a train of trainer, because maybe you are Blessing, you're the only one who attended the training, or you are two?
It is the two of us.
Yeah, if it's the two of you, then there's that particular attraction, so that's okay. Maybe something that I would also wanted to have seen is how then do you also kind of improve the actual evaluations, whether there's a standard on what kind of reports are submitted, or basically these reports, it depends with the actuary and all that. So that is something that maybe would have been necessary to think about as a plan to kind of come up with a standard on the key items that maybe this particular report would carry. But generally, I think these are a good way to start, because we are also thinking of having basically having a follow-up meetings on a number of occasions. Yeah, I think that's okay. Thanks.
Very good, very good. I'm glad to see some activity in the chat, so keep that up. Clinton has got some advice, Blessings, so take a look at the chat. Quite a few comments here, Blessing, so enjoy the chat. We're going to move to the next person I saw on the list was Bonnie from Uganda. So Team Uganda.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I'm using my phone. I'm expecting my colleague Edith to make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you from the IAIS team, A2II as well. Can you all hear me? And is my screen visible?
It is, and we
yes,
can hear
thanks,
you.
Edith. Okay, thank you so much. So for Uganda, we are focusing on one major thing and another issue that we have as a part of our problem. And the major one is looking at the fact that we are all moving to adopt risk-based supervision, and Uganda has already advanced in stages regarding adoption of risk-based supervision. There have been new reforms in terms of regulations that could help us to implement risk-based supervision, and one of them is a requirement that all the insurance companies provide actuarial evaluation reports. on an annual basis. Now, we already have life insurance companies that have already been doing that over the years, but now we have also included non-life insurers and reinsurers as those that should submit actuarial valuation reports. And this therefore means that there will be more analysis to be made and more need for input from different supervisors within the authority. And what we want and what our problem basically is to better interpret and analyze these actuarial reports. And what we want is to make some meaningful analysis from them. And secondly, the other problem that we have is looking at the fact that with the implementation of risk-based supervision, yes, the authority and its staff are moving ahead in terms of understanding the regime, but we still need to build more capacity for our staff in the insurance industry so that we can all move in tandem to adoption of risk-based supervision. So if I move down, our main objective is to be able to develop expertise to understand the actuarial concepts better, such that they don't look like news to us when we are looking at the actuarial reports. And also what we want to do is to look at ways of how to monitor adoption of risk-based supervision at the insurance industry level. So basically what we want to do is to be able to gauge how far the industry is, such that we are moving in tandem with them as the staff of the authority. So briefly, our action steps for these two key problems. I'll start with the actuarial valuation issue. And what we want is to be able to transfer the skills to some other staff at the regulatory authority, because we only have attended the training as 3 participants, but because of the requirement that many other non-life companies will submit these actuarial reports, we will need to probably engage and involve some other team members within the authority. So what we want to do is to be able to train the other staff to be able to understand these actuarial concepts, such that they can also be able to analyze these reports. And we hope we can do that during the month of October. This shouldn't take a long time and should just be done within a month's time. And secondly, we also hope to probably carry out some exercises by by picking on some existing actuarial reports and look at exactly what is embedded in them, and also try to leverage on what the training has focused on. Try and look out for the key concepts that are already in the actuarial reports, things to do with how the technical provisions have been computed, things to do with valuation techniques, looking at the discount rating that has been done, and many other concepts. So we expect to be able to look into the depth of that and then be able to transfer this skill to the other existing staff, and then also now look at key examples of already existing reports and look at our analysis out of the actuarial valuation reports that have been submitted. And also the second issue that we had with dwindling capacity, specifically actuarial capacity in the insurance industry.
So Edith, sorry to interrupt. So maybe we can just chat about the action plan on the training, because there seem to be 2 pieces, and it's becoming quite an extensive discussion. Is that okay?
Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, great. So thanks very much. So I'm very glad that you found 2 key areas that need to be worked on and addressed in Uganda, and that you can justify the importance of those 2 key actions based on what's happening in your country at the moment. So it's very good to be able to justify why your problem is important currently, so that you can get support from the rest of the team in terms of your problem statements and your objectives. So my main comments really around the problem statements and the objectives is that you've got two separate areas. So it would be good actually if you developed two action plans, one for developing the internal capacity within the IRA, and then another action plan to help you develop the capacity of the insurers so that they can also understand the risk-based capital environment. So it'd be good if you had two objectives. And then just in terms of your action plan steps, so I think you've identified two big areas that you can work on. So one is trying to do some training for the rest of the team who wasn't able to attend. And the other one is to look at actuarial reports that you've received and try to analyze them. So it's very good that you've got two areas to look at. I think it would be good just to expand a little bit more on how you're going to do the training and the transfer of skills, in terms of what topics you think are most important for non-life business, if that's the area that you want to focus on most. And then I think it's good to start while everything is fresh in your mind, but you might need to give a little bit more time to some of the areas that you're working on, depending on what other responsibilities you have at the moment and what other responsibilities the supervision team has. And also, what was quite good about the action plan from Ghana is that they identified who they would need to involve from the various teams, so that they want to look at the supervision team and the relationship managers. So it'll be good, I think, also for you to think about who needs to be involved in that actuarial training. So that you can really concentrate your efforts on the people who will make the most difference. But thank you very much. And I really think, so maybe this is an idea for Ghana to pick up on, and some of the other countries that are trying to expand on their knowledge of the actuarial reports. So some case studies of your existing reports is a very good technique. So well done, Edith and the rest of your team, for picking that up. Thanks.
You.
Okay, so the next participant I saw on the list was Eric. So that's Team Kenya, and I was reading Kenya's action plans earlier, and I'm looking forward to it. It was really good.
Is this right?
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
So now the action plan has been prepared by me, Eric Musau, and Zipporah Maina. So the statement of the problem is that we realize that in our Insurance Act, we only provide actions for companies whose CR is below 100%, and that's when we take action on them. However, we do not have any guidelines for companies with CR above 100%, but with a decline in CR from year to year. By CR, I mean the capital adequacy ratio. So our objective is to develop an intervention guideline in respect to insurers' risk profile that enable the authority to take acts promptly on regulatory concerns by 2023. Why is this important? It's because it will enable us supervisors to detect a company that has capital issues early enough for supervisory intervention. Remember that in our act, we only take, as I said earlier, we only take action when a company has a CR below 100%. But if it has a decline in CR, we don't take action, and this might cause problem, and it might be too late for us to take action when it falls below 100%. So how we are going to do this is that we are going to set up a task force, a working task force in our organization, and we'll also need some what is it called? We also need some We also need help from the regulator, from also the industry itself, because we'll be asking the industry participants some questions and some views on these regulations. And we also need some help from the other supervisory bodies that have a similar guidelines as to what we want to introduce into our system. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I realize we haven't given you a lot of time. After reading this, there's a lot of good detail in this action plan with timeframes and detailed steps. So I like that you have a concrete deliverable. I mean, you've stated something that it's tangible. You want some guidelines on the capital adequacy ratio, and that's very concrete, and you'll know when you get there. I think that your time frame is, you've got a year and 3 months to work on this, and that seems good as well. I was actually struggling to find rooms for improvement. So I think I need to leave this up to chat for some other advice to give you, because I think you did a really thorough job. I'd say this is one of the best action plans I saw, Eric. So I apologize, Eric, for not having any advice, but I do want to say this is awesome. Great, good job. I think the next person I saw on the list was Jennifer from the Philippines. Which could also be Mark.
Hi everyone. So Eugene and I will be going to present the action plan for the Philippines. For the problem, the Philippine Insurance Commission published circulars that set out the valuation standards and should be reflected in the actuarial valuation report. The said circulars was prepared by the PIC's Actuarial Division. However, the enforcement, monitoring, and evaluation of the AVRs are assigned to the PIC's Non-Life Division. And given PIC's Non-Life Division are all accountants with no considerable knowledge in actuarial concept and processes, they are only focused on the results section of the AVR to determine whether the amounts of claims and premiums liability reported in the financial statement tally with the amount reflected in the AVR and comply on the mandated ways on how to compute for the reserves as per said circular. In effect, the vital sections of the AVR were neglected, such as scope of report, data requirements, valuation methodologies and assumptions, analysis of experience, and valuation result. So for the action step, Eugene will be going to present it.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Jen. Again, given the problem statement, the objective is to appreciate and understand the significance of the contents of the AVR, which will enable us to develop an audit guide in assessing the appropriateness and reasonableness of the report. For action steps, we have included a quite number of action steps here, and we also added columns for remarks to give more details about the action steps to be taken and the status of each action step. Again, I think I'm just gonna focus on the critical areas here given the limited time. For action step number 1, I think it is important to note that not all trainings are free. So we must communicate with our HR and budget divisions to ask for monetary resources, considering that some trainings requires fees. And it is also important to keep in touch with the training providers, E2II, IAIS, IAA, and the local association of the actuaries, as they are the experts in these fields, and receiving trainings from them would be really important to accomplish this action plan. And for the next step, it's about sharing the training materials and echoing the learnings. But I think the critical thing here is the item 2C, which is in red. So in our division, we are composed of mixed examiners, and some of them are resistant to change. That is why we cannot just introduce a new process to them, and that is the reason why we put a long timeline for this. So this would start on Monday until April 30, 2022. We have to take the process slowly for them to really appreciate the importance of this new process. And for action step number 3, it's about the development of the audit guide. So this is the main thing here. So it would start on January 1, 2022, because starting today until the end of the year, we have already our deliverables and we are committed to accomplish the analysis of the 2020 annual reports before the year ends. That's why we can only focus on this plan starting next year. So for 3B, this is an important step here, drafting a position paper, because this position paper will document the applicability of the things we learn in this training and will explain the necessity to assess the appropriateness and the reasonableness of the AVR, and this will also serve as the starting point to develop the audit guide. So for step 3C, that is the plan process. So we would start drafting the audit guide. So this would start from January 16, 2022 until the end of February. So this would take more than a month. As I mentioned, there are people in our group who are resistant to change. So this would take a lot of time. And after drafting the audit guide, we would expose the same to different key stakeholders, those who are within the organization, such as the actuarial division and the life MBAs and trust division. We would also expose the same to the Actuarial Society of the Philippines. And if we would be lucky enough, we would be able to expose the said draft guide to our dear trainers and other colleagues from this training as well. So if you are welcome to that, we can expose the same. Our target is on the Q2 of 2022. And after exposure to the key stakeholders, after considering the comments, we would finalize the audit guide on the second half of April 30. This is in preparation for the examination and verification of the 2021 annual reports, which would start on May 2022, because the annual submission is April 30. And after the actual incorporation of the audit guide in the examination, it would be also really important to review the audit guide, as this is a process, so continuous improvement is a must. So just a note, because the COVID-19 pandemic is worsening here in the country, the stated timelines are highly subject to changes. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, I think this is a really good action plan as well, and I think it's going to work really well, which is great. I like the fact that you've given yourself enough time to do this, and that you've recognised that that you have to spend some time getting people on board and dealing with people who are resistant to change. You know, whenever you ask someone to do something new, there's going to be a group of people who are really excited, and another group of people who have invested a lot of their time and energy into learning to do things the current way and not quite so enthusiastic. So that's great. The second thing I thought is that one of the things that we talked a little bit about yesterday was to say, well, when I get to the end of this project, how will I know? And in your case, you'll know because you'll be able to show everybody the audit guide, say, look, here is what we did. So I would suggest you actually even bring that out a little bit more in the statement of the objective. You do say that you want to appreciate the significance of the AVR and understand, and so that's one thing, but it's kind of hard to see appreciation and understanding. It's really easy to see that audit guide. So so I would probably put the audit guide kind of front and center of the objective and just sort of focus on that, because other people who see this are just going to say, well, look, we're going to develop this audit guide. So I think that's fantastic. The other thing I thought was really good, and maybe I'll just elaborate a little bit, is the idea that perhaps you might include other people from outside the organisation, such as the Actuarial Association. And one of the advantages of that is that you can actually invite some of these people to come and give presentations and talks and things to everybody, and internally it's a training exercise. For them, they're just, probably quite prepared to do that for everybody's mutual benefit, and may well do that without cost. So I think it's a good idea to do that, and maybe for other people as they're thinking about where they're going to get resources from, don't be afraid to ask other people. I think it's a really good example of saying, let's see if these people or those people can come and give us a presentation on this topic, and it just helps with staff training on topics that people need to learn about, and they can share the learning much more easily. So I think that's a really great idea that you have, to include them as part of the process, and they might actually be able to make a useful contribution without you having to actually pay for it. So that would be great. I did the same once when I was a supervisor, and we had a lot of new staff with a reinsurance company, and they had quite a lot of training they give to insurers, and I invited them to come and share that with some of our newer staff, and they were more than happy just to do that. So well done. Yeah. So I like the fact that you've got plenty of time and good steps well outlined there.
Thank you, Mark and Jennifer. So I think the next person on my list was Seema Krishna from Suriname. We could come back.
Yeah, please, because I didn't know I have to go through so many things before I get my file. I have it on my screen, but I think I have to go to Explorer and all that kind. Oh my gosh. Maybe you could go to someone else. That would be good.
And maybe Jeff also say who is next after the next.
Okay, I'll do that.
Maybe I can come next.
Person.
Next to this person.
Okay.
So people can prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'd like to see then, how about Luis from Guyana, and then we'll come back to Suriname.
Can you see my screen? I'm not seeing it.
Not just yet. We can see you though.
Okay, yes. Oh, that's good. Can I read without having the screen shared? Because I'm having a little problem in sharing it. Would that be okay?
Okay, can I ask my colleagues just to forward this plan? Do we have it in the?
Because I'm not getting it on.
Or if someone else can share it, can Janina maybe share it in?
I think I don't have it yet, Louise, or did you submit it?
No, okay. No, I haven't.
No, that's not a problem. Just
maybe you can send it through email, or if not, then just read the few key points out, and we'll make something out.
All right. Yes, if I can read the key points. Okay, the problem we're having that I have identified is that there's a lack of skills to effectively interpret the actuarial valuation reports of the licensed insurance companies. And the staff need to understand the basis for the actuaries using the Canadian mortality tables. So that's the issue we're having.
Please, can I interrupt, because we are not seeing it. So have you moved on to the objective now, or are we still at the problem statement?
That's the problem statement. So I'll be going to the objective now.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Yeah. The objective is to be satisfied that the evaluation of policies is adequate to protect the policyholders. And the goal, for being specific, the statement of being smart, the SMART goal, is to ensure that the mortality assumptions used in the AVR provide adequate value for the technical provisions. Measurable, the review of the AVR should be completed by 20th of November. Actionable, staff should commence the exercise by the 20th of September of this year.
Can you repeat the actionable once again, please?
Yes, the actionable is that staff should commence the exercise by the 20th of September. Realistic, staff should conduct online research for additional data, as well as use reports previously submitted by the insurers. Time-bound, the review and comments from insurers and final reports should be completed by the 30th of November 2021. Based on the outcome, recommendations are to be made as to whether the Canadian mortality table for 1986 to 1982 should remain in effect, or we should use another period or use information from the Bureau of Statistics here, because the actuarial staff, they were saying that we should be using the information from the Bureau of Statistics, but the insurers do not agree with that. So we need to determine exactly which should be the best method. So there should be some assessments made using data and comparing the outcomes. And what I have suggested here, that the data should be used for over a 10-year period instead of just using a previous and current year period, because the actuarial staff here, they just use a short period and came to that assumption that this Bureau of Statistics data should be used. But this matter should be reviewed in-depthly. And what I found as being the barrier here is that to archive data over that long period, because we used to be having reports, actuarial reports were submitted by hard copies. So most of those have been already archived. So we would need to get those in place to do the assessment. The action plan. The first step that I've identified is that staff need to obtain the data for the 10-year period as the actuarial reports they need to have, which they'll start on the 20th of September, and it should take them like 2 weeks up to October, and the responsibility would be on the 2 actuarial staff. The next step, request mortality data from the Bureau of Statistics, and which should also take 2 weeks, and we can have the staff from the policy unit looking at that. That is to have the mortality data. Commence calculations using both data obtained, which should take like 3 weeks, and the actuarial staff should be doing that using their reports and the statistics. Then comparisons, yes.
Louise, I'm not sure how many steps there are, but we need this under 2.5 minutes. So you're in an elevator. I don't think you will be speaking to your key decision maker in step number 3 and 4. So can you summarize the rest of it?
Yes, okay. At the end of the calculations, recommendations would be made. Then we will have consultations with the insurers. And based on that, we'll determine the way forward and implement the plan. So those are the main concerns.
Thank you very much. I really wish I had this document in front of me because it does really generate a lot of thoughts, even like with you reading it out. So the first question I have has to do with the feasibility, with a timeline, which to me seems to be questionable, as you seem to be starting very soon after this training ends. The questions that are coming up to my mind is, do you need to consult someone? Who are your stakeholders in order to kick the process off? So that is one. And because we don't have the Word document before us, if any of my partners have things to contribute here, I would welcome. Secondly, what I really liked about you is that when you say we need to determine something as an action step, you actually go further down to say we do that by assessing the data. So it's a very practical, it's a very plastic sort of action step. And this is what we need to determine something, and for everyone else, it's not really an action, it is how you do it. So by assessing data, and I really liked your approach, setting things out like that. I like the SMART objectives, and I'm really happy that you've used them. Maybe you could put it in the chat how you define the SMART objectives for the rest of the group.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And here I see Janice has some comments about technical issues, which I encourage you to have a look at. And yeah, I mean, those are the three things. So it's about feasibility, it's about the stakeholders and any necessary approval. So feasibility in terms of time, when this starts and when it ends, and how long certain steps last. But then again, the third is really kudos to you for using really practical steps and thinking them through. Thank you so much, Louise.
Oh, yes. All right, good. Well, the stakeholders would be the insurers and the Bureau of Statistics, because we want to get verification from the Bureau of Statistics as to how accurate their information is.
That's fine, but within the authority, in order to get this going, you need to consult your colleagues. You perhaps need to consult your supervisor. I'm not sure, but it depends on your hierarchies. So are there any additional steps there in approvals that you've missed? So this is just a question, because I almost remember that I thought that there was a step missing in that sense somewhere, but then again, not having the document before me, it's really hard to refer back to that. But please have another look at that.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you so much, Louise.
They're useful. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe we can go back to Sima Kishna from Suriname, and then the next person would be Maliahai from Lesotho.
And maybe just a quick reminder, I think Blessing actually did best on time so far by putting on a timer next to, on his side as well, for the presentation, because we are running a bit late now, and it would be a pity if we can't hear everyone. So please stick to the 2.5 minutes. Okay, so we get a note that something went wrong when loading your presentation. Do I just get this, or everyone?
I got it too.
Okay.
Do you want to present without having it on the screen the way Louise did?
Okay. I got a lot of comments yesterday, so I tried to adjust it. My statement is I think it's not working. I'm not sure if it is right, but okay. The supervisors cannot get the right oversight of the solvency of the life insurance companies, since they are not able to review the IVR due to lack of actuarial knowledge. And the objective will be to obtain sufficient knowledge to be able to review the actuarial valuation reports and to be able to have discussions with the management or appointed actuary on the valuation methodology, data use, assumptions. And the action steps with starting is join the training, leveraging actuarial skills. That was starting to September and completed 16. That the stakeholder was me. And then the second one, assist colleagues with what to look for when reviewing IVR. And I will start on the 1st October 2000 this year, and it will be ongoing. And key stakeholders, me, other staff of the department. Shared knowledge gained, that will be the next step. Shared knowledge gained during this training. I will do that through writing a report and doing a presentation for those, for my colleagues. And we have in a planning, actually, we will have a TA from the Nederlandse Bank, that's from the Central Bank of the Netherlands. And that will start in October, and it's going to be 1 year, I guess. So that's what I have put it in my action plan as well. And during this TA, we will go to insurance companies, on-site inspections, and he will help us, assist us with reviewing IVR, and we will give, and I think the plan is that we will elaborate on all those actuarial stuff. So that is my action steps in short.
Thank you. Elias, do you have any comments to add?
Not really. Thanks.
Yesterday I got a lot of comments.
Okay, great. So this was a lot of.
Okay, this one is what you are sharing is not the complete one. I had adjusted it, but anyway, this is.
Sorry, Siema, I don't have the more up-to-date one, but I thought it would at least help to have the objective and some of the steps.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So anyone? Oh.
So maybe Jeff, just to say thank you, Siema, for adding some more of the activities that you know are going to happen in this area, like the TA assistance. I think that was very good to add to the action plan.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other comments can be entered into chat. Let's move, please, to Loliyahai from Lesotho.
Hi everyone. So I'll be presenting the team from Lesotho is made up of myself, Tulani, and Mudi, and I'm just gonna try to share the screen. I don't know if it's visible yet.
Janice, you may have to stop sharing. And then on deck, the next presenter would be Angola, Nathaniel.
I found it. Thanks, Jeff, to stop sharing.
Oh, can I start sharing now? Yeah. So our statement of the problem is that we currently don't have defined, meaningful and relevant KPIs, hence we are unable to perform an in-depth analysis of the performance of insurance companies in our jurisdiction. And our objective is to refine our key performance indicators to timelessly and better detect risks from insurers. The second one is to develop the acceptable ranges of KPIs and develop related risk metrics relevant to our industry experience. The third one is to eventually link the supervisory letter of intervention to the KPI risk metrics. Our first action step is to identify the KPIs relevant for both life and general insurers. I mean, this is for each one of them. And then we intend to start from November 2021 to December 2021. And the relevant stakeholders are everyone that's in the department. Our department is comprised of about 10 people. So yeah, it's a pretty small number. And then the second action step is to collect time data for the above KPIs for all the insurers to determine the industry average. This is so we can develop the acceptable ratio ranges relevant to our industry. And we estimate that this process will start January 2022 and perhaps end around June 2022. And the involved stakeholders here will be the actuarial analysts. There's currently 2 actuarial analysts in our department, and they work with data. The third, under the second point, we want to also develop the supervisory intervention policies related to the risk metrics, and we have the same length as the time collection, but the stakeholders here will be head of sections of the insurance supervision department. We also have the legal department that assists with such, and we think our director as well, the director of the supervision department, will also be a key stakeholder in developing the intervention policies linked to the risk metrics. And then once that's done, we also want to develop the risk metrics tied to the ratio ranges. This is to say, if an insurer is within a range by this amount of time, we rank the risks to say they're on high risk or medium risk or low risk, depending on how far they are on the ranges that we have developed. And we think the key stakeholders here will be the actuarial analysts and the head of sections, with the duration of that part, hoping that will start from July 2022 to October 2022. And then the last part of the action plan is to eventually use the metrics for supervisory analysis and to also link the metrics to supervisory, letter of intervention. And this will probably start November ongoing. And this is perhaps the end of the project. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tulani. So I think this is also quite a detailed action plan in terms of thinking carefully about the steps that are involved and who your key stakeholders are and who should be involved. I like the fact that the objectives are broken down into 2 different pieces so that you can know when you've achieved each of those different objectives. And I think you've been sensible for most of your time frames, so I think that's very good. Maybe the only 2 things that I would think would be good to add is maybe once you've identified those top 10 KPIs, I think it would be good to have some sort of document so that other people in the team could easily be able to use them, as well as maybe thinking about the type of document that you would also have for your benchmarks and your risk assessments. So that you could actually put down as maybe a deliverable or an output, something tangible for your project. Then just 2 small things that maybe you can think of in terms of your plan. So when you're looking at those benchmarks, it would be good to maybe think about the types of business that some of the insurers are writing and whether it would be good to set a benchmark for your whole industry or maybe a benchmark. I know the industry in Lesotho is quite small, but maybe a benchmark of what you might expect to see maybe for personal lines business, or maybe for commercial business if you're looking at general insurance. So maybe think a little bit about what sensible benchmarks would be and where you would expect companies to be the same and where you might expect them to be different. And then even though this might not be part of your action plan, but it would be good to have some sort of feedback mechanism to continue monitoring whether that those KPIs are the most useful and whether your benchmarks are still appropriate over time as the market grows. But well done. Yeah, have a look at Dunya's message of the link for the A2II material. I think it'll be very helpful for you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Great job. So I had said that Nathaniel is next. I no longer see Nathaniel in the participant list, so I don't think we have anyone here from Angola. Let me know if I'm wrong. That would bring up.
Stop saying who is next after all.
Yeah, maybe I scared Nathaniel away. Well, okay. Well, I didn't give South Africa any warning. So Shanice or Chesney, would you be willing to present for South Africa?
Hi, Jeff. Sure, I can present. I'm not sure if Chesney's on the line. Okay, let me just share my window. Please let me know once you can see my screen.
There we go. Yes.
All right. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try and do this in 2 minutes and give you 30 seconds back of your life. So I'm Shanice Moodley from South Africa with Chesney, my colleague. Our statement of the problem is that the Prudential Authority of South Africa follows a risk-based supervisory approach. As a supervisor of insurers, the issue is the lack of a full risk-based supervisory program encompassing the following key areas: risk management and internal controls, a risk function assessment, solvency and capital assessment, ORSA assessment, and an actuarial report review. So we do have a supervisory program, but it may lack in the full suite of elements one should consider and be cognizant of when looking at these key areas that I've listed above. Our objective is then to follow a consistent holistic supervisory approach for all insurers under our supervision. And the way in which we'd like to achieve this objective is to develop what we would call the Insurer Atlas, the Insurer Supervisory Review Atlas, sorry. The first action step would be, first of all, to unpack the key terms for the above mentioned focus areas, key terminology that we've learned throughout the course of this training and throughout the course of our interactions with our colleagues from the other countries on the line, and develop a library of key resources for those people in South Africa who are supervising the various insurer entities. The timeline for unpacking these terminologies and building our library is starting in September for the full month of September and October. And our key stakeholders would be our banking and insurance supervision department. And the people that would be driving this would be myself and Chesney as the analysts who have attended this training. The second action step would then be to develop a roadmap for the build and development of the supervisory programs. In some areas, it would be a build, and in some areas, it would be actually further enhancement and development to programs that have already been established. We would do this following a RAG approach, so red, amber, and green, to ensure that we allocate the right resources and the sufficient energy and skills and expertise to the areas that require this the most. So we'd obviously classify the milestones and areas in terms of red, amber, and green. Our timelines for this is from October all through December, because these are our quieter seasons, as it does pick up a bit from next year, January onwards. So we'd use the quiet season to start developing this roadmap and the key milestones. Again, the key stakeholders would be our banking and insurance supervision department, but the main drivers of this roadmap would be myself and Chesney. The third step in our process would then be assigning champions for the above mentioned roadmap. Even though Chesney and I would lead the development of a roadmap, we'd assign people to take accountability and responsibility to enhancing and developing the programs. Each champion would be assigned a focus area to ensure that our objective is met for each milestone. and that the supervisory program captures all the information for all types of insurers, whether they be life or non-life insurers. The time frame for this is again October through to December, where we can assign the champions during the quieter seasons, and the stakeholder would be our entire department. Once the foundation above is set, we'd start developing a portal on which the supervisory review materials, such as the programs, our resources, etc., would be uploaded, and this can be further enhanced and shared. The portal would obviously need to be accessible by all members of our banking and insurance supervision department, with certain members being allocated only read access and certain members being allocated read and write access to bring forth their understanding and knowledge that they have acquired throughout the years. Then lastly, we would then provide training. So we would provide training on the above in terms of our insurance supervisory review atlas, how to navigate the atlas, what's included in the atlas, and if people going forward would like to then champion certain risk areas, if they would like to then share additional insights with our teams, we would then also include this in the training as well. This is anticipated to start in March next year, and it will be an ongoing process because the learning basically never ends. And then last but not least, continuous monitoring and housekeeping for the upkeep of the above, ensuring that any legislative requirements and new regulatory reforms are considered and embedded into our library, into our supervisory programs, and continuous training and sharing of information is done. And the time frame for this is also March next year for an ongoing period. And the stakeholders for the last three elements would be our entire banking and insurance supervision department, and the champions, as mentioned in step 2 above, would be the drivers of these action points. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shanice. So I like a couple of things very much. The concrete finish line. You know, when you finish, you're gonna have a library of documents for training. You're gonna have the red, amber, green rag. You know, those are definite milestones to hit, and I like that. The library, you only gave yourself 1 month, so I don't know if that's aggressive or reasonable. I like also going back to the red, amber, green. It helps you prioritize your resources. So that's I'm in favor of that. For the portal, I'm not sure if there's a cost for developing the portal that needs to be considered, and for the training, if there's a stretch on your resources, who might, if there's going to be a resource constraint for the training. But no, I like a lot of things, as I said, about your action plans.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I don't know of the people who haven't presented. I'm going to need some help identifying who's here and available to present.
I try to keep track, and I think, and please, people, jump in if we missed you. But I think we only have Mauritius left. Is that right? And apologies to everyone that we are already overrunning a little bit. I hope you are able to stay for the formally unofficial coffee break and just stay with us for another, say, 10 minutes or so.
I had marked maybe incorrectly that Mauritius is already gone, but maybe I'm wrong.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So it's Zahira from Mauritius. Can you all?
Yes, we can hear you very clear.
I'm just going to be very quick. You definitely did not save the best for last. Our action plan is actually really, really skinny and probably too skinny to be impactful. So I'm just going to fly through. I'm not really sure I'm able to share my screen. That didn't quite work out last time, so I'm going to try again. If you can see something, let me know. Is that working or not?
No, not yet.
No. Okay, so just being mindful of time, I'm just going to run through. I do want to say thank you to all of those who've presented, because we've learned a lot from everyone, especially from Clinton and Edith from Ghana and Uganda. Their action plans were really, really good because it touched on something we try to work on. So very briefly, our problem statement related to the limited internal capacity to adequately interpret AVRs and being able to conduct independent actuarial reviews. So at the Financial Services Commission, there's about 5 of us, and we're relatively new to the department. We've got limited actuarial background and almost no industry experience. So most of the learning happens on the job, and there's lack of technical expertise. So that's a limitation in our ability to fully interpret AVRs, and also to formulate appropriate questions during inspections, and that can be quite intimidating. So our objective is to build on this training. Actually, this A2II training is the very first one we've done, looking at actuarial capacity, how to build on actuarial capacity. And so we do want to further strengthen our understanding of actuarial concepts from a prudential perspective, maybe share that with colleagues who've got an accounting background, but we all end up doing the same job in the team. And to be able to review AVRs more confidently. And basically our action steps, I've come to realize, is mostly administrative. We have effectively, I don't think my screen is being shared, is it?
It actually is now. We can see it now.
Oh, great. Okay, so we've got 5 steps, and they all relate to talking to our head of department, discussing with the head of cluster about the limitations that we have, so the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience, and also highlighting the benefits of doing more training and potentially even doing segments, going on training at perhaps insurance companies or having people come and train us. And then, of course, identifying training sessions, whether it's locally or virtually. The A2II has been fantastic, so we'll definitely be giving them feedback about that. And then moving on to talking to HR to see how human resource would tackle that, because we are a very, very small team. So we've got competing priorities, and training does take time. For instance, in order to follow this training, I was lucky enough to follow all of the sessions, but my colleagues didn't get to do that because they had inspections and they had a lot of things happening at the same time. And so management doesn't allow for us to sort of take time out to do training. So maybe that would be something we'll need to look into and maybe suggest. And so, yeah, so basically, as you can see, it's a very, very skinny one, but we've managed to take a lot of information from the other action plans that were presented, and a lot of the feedbacks from you, from the trainers and from other participants as well. So it's been a really, really good learning experience for us. And I'd like to thank all of you for that.
Yes, thanks very much. I think just a couple of quick reactions, bearing in mind the time. I mean, actually, this is not quite as skimpy an action plan as you said, so you're probably selling yourself a bit short. It's quite, I think, meaty and focused. One of the things I thought was a really good idea was reaching out to other supervisors in the region and seeing what they might have that they could share with you, or perhaps participating with them in things that they might be doing. I think that's a great idea, and one that maybe others might benefit a little bit from. And of course, we can do that with the people that we've met in this training course, as well as other ways of doing that. But I mean, this is a classic example of something where I think if someone has some kind of training that they've developed in actuarial concepts that they use, they'd be very happy to share it. And seems like a great idea. I also like the idea of leveraging things that are around that might be flexible in delivery, but at the same time talking to management about making time more available for staff as well. So you're really attacking that problem from both sides. So well done with that.
Thank you. Thanks very much for the feedback.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Zahira and Team Mauritius. I realize we still have, I guess, one plan from Tunisia, from Usama and Rehab, and I'm seeing a bit of activity in the chat on whether we should go ahead. But I still want to ask you whether you want to present, or maybe you can send it to us and we can give you written feedback as well if you have another one that you would like to share. So could I get a quick okay from Usama?
Hello everybody. So we will present, I am Rehab Misi from Tunisia. So we will present our second action plan. We will discuss about the key indicator of solvency based. So our problem statement are the following. We will share. Okay, so the General Insurance Committee is the regulatory and supervisory authority for the Tunisian sector. Among the difficulties we are facing, we note the following ones: limited gathered data, quantitative and qualitative data related to insurance case risks, dashboard not reflecting the risk profile of insurer, lack risk-based key indicators, lack of risk mapping of the insurance market, poor data analysis. So these difficulties lead to non-efficient risk-based supervision. The objective of this action plan is aimed to improve gathered data and implement dashboard founded on risk-based key indicator, which enhance risk-based supervision capacity and provide clear view of insurance market and insurance risk profile. The action will improve the efficiency of insurance supervisors, so we will save money and time. The action starts with March 2022 and lasts 2 years. So our action plan is divided into 6 steps. The first one is to describe the project to the different stakeholders and division tasks between the members of project team. These steps will start on March and it will last 1 month. So the key holder are member of the project, engineer, actuaries, financial analyst, and the board of director. We will deliver a PowerPoint presentation of the project. The second step is to share and discuss learnings about indicator. The shareholders are member of the project and foreign supervision. We will establish an exhaustive database of risk-based indicator from different sources, such as benchmark, ACPR, the Solvency II report, ACAPS, Macroprudential Committee. This is a national committee, the EIS, rating agency, IFRS reporting. So our output is a descriptive document of the indicator. The third step is to computer development of dashboard and implement of indicator. These steps will lead 6 months. Yes, 6 months. These stakeholders are member of project, mainly software engineers and actuary. The output is code source of the application, real-time executable application, user's manual of the application. The fourth step is to test the application and potential correction of the source code. The stakeholders are members of the project, mainly financial analysts and actuaries. The fifth step is the presentation of the application, training for applicants users. And the last step is putting the application into production. In general, we will have a continuous monitoring of action plan steps via a regular meeting, minimum one meeting per month. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sama. This is great. Could you the objective, please? If you could scroll. I had some issues with Teams. Is Usama scrolling, or because my screen froze a moment ago? I'm not sure if it's me. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So a few things. What I really liked about you kicking off your action steps, that I think is action step 1, is that you start by describing the project to the relevant stakeholders. And this is something that I don't think I've seen in most of the action plans so far. So that is really well.
Dunya, you're muted, I think.
Yeah, I've been having. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. A moment ago, I had to leave. So application, really, the dashboard is the goal, right? And I just wasn't sure if you had it in the objective, and there should be, and I see it is currently in the objective. If you could scroll down to the learning part about the KPIs, second or third action step, if I correctly remember. After describing, just one more. Share, discuss learnings about indicators. This is where there's a bit of a gap for me. So it seems like you've learned about indicators already. Is this something, or is this some sort of a workshop where everyone contributes?
Yes, it's a workshop when everyone can contribute to add or to add another indicator or a new indicator for the insurance sector.
Okay, that's good.
We can also, sorry, we can also use the key indicator which are in which are in the training.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I wasn't just sure what that meant and who is presenting to whom, essentially. But it is clear. It's almost like a tour de table. It's almost like a sharing workshop to formulate.
It will be like a brainstorming event.
Right, to formulate some sort of a draft.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good. No, these are the only things, I mean, I spotted. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything, but to me, this looks, the approach is very serious. It looks absolutely feasible. You've taken quite a bit of time to research the way this dashboard should work as well, which is fantastic this early in the process. Is this something that you've been working on before, or is this something that you've just started during this training?
We are working on this project for 6 months, so we can show you an example of the outputs.
Okay, no, this is fantastic. I mean, you can tell that this is something that has been well thought through, and that there's quite a bit of research and knowledge behind it. So there's really not much for me to say at this point, apart from, you know, thank you for sharing this with us and contributing to the learning of the group, actually.
You're welcome.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing your end product. I mean, if this is something that you can share with the HII as well, it would be interesting to have a look how some of your prototypes as well.
Yes, it is a real-time application, which, for example, this is a dashboard for investment indicators for mixed insurance in Tunisia.
Okay, it's quite interesting. Thank you so much, Tunisian team, for your presentation. This is fantastic. Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Glad we took the time, although we are over time. Thanks for everyone who stayed on for this.